Series number 1 for day 5 is in the history books as Innovation takes a clean 3-0 there over Ryung, doing very well for himself. Now we're going to be moving swiftly on, as we do have to my right, it's good old Tastosis joining me here for Zest versus TUI. Why did you giggle? Why did you giggle?
Good old Tastosis. I like that. Good old Tastosis.
I'm not saying you're old. I mean, you are older than me, but I'm not saying you're old.
We're actually in esports years. We're like from the Cretaceous period or something. So
the Cretaceous period of casting.
That's right. Yeah.
That's how old you are. All right. So we have our next series on the way. It is going to be Zest going up against TUI. The games don't get any worse. They just keep getting better. What do we make of Zest versus TUI here, guys?
This is going to be a good match. I'm a big fan of Zest as a Protoss player, but I think TY is going to be very, very tough to beat.
This would be like a possibility for revenge for TY, right? Because he did lose in the GSL Finals to Zest. They were teammates at the time.
Yes.
They know each other inside out. They're two of the smartest players of their races, two of the best players of their races. It's like just so epic. We're just having match after match today that could be the finals of any tournament, and we're the finals in some cases.
Yeah.
Of the best tournaments in the world. So it's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to really predict this. I'm like, well, I mean, TY is probably going to outsmart Zest, but Zest is going to out-execute TY, and like, I don't know. Like, I guess we'll just see who's better today.
Yeah, TY had quite a few Protosses to have to go through during the group stage, but of course, Zest had no Terrans whatsoever to actually go up against. So how's this going to play out for Zest? Is he going to be okay going up against Terrans? Because his entire side of the bracket is Terrans from now.
Here's the thing is that, especially the recent games we've casted of TY, his, not just his builds, but the way he moves, his army is so fine-tuned. Yeah. We've seen this in a couple GSLs where he always gets out there, goes and guns down the first observer right when it gets to his base. He seems to know exactly when to make it look like he's going to go in here and do a drop when he's really just making them rotate armies over and over. It seems to me at least like he's got it down to a science. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that Zest can't stop that, but I feel like this is a series where in any game, if Zest makes a mistake, especially like in mid-game going into late game, the drops alone, the harass alone might start to snowball.
I would say, you know, Zest, I've seen a lot of his online play recently because he did get eliminated in the first round of GSL.
Yeah.
And he's kind of gone back to some of his older builds, going Blink more often, stuff like that. So there could be some danger there if TUI is aware of this. But Zest is in very good shape in PvT right now. Right. His execution is just top class. His micro, his macro is going to be hitting. Does he get behind in the early game? I think is exactly what we have to look for. If TY gets an edge in the early game, it's going to be really hard for Zest to come back.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. Of course, Zest now has to go through a lot of Terrans here in the bracket if he's to make his way through to the grand final. So without further ado, we do have one of our previous Intel Extreme Masters Katowice champions going up against the newfound riches of the $200,000 champion in TY.
Guys, it is time for our second match of the round of 12. It is a rematch of the 2016 GSL Grand Finals between two former teammates. Please welcome it's Zest and TY!
Go with a rematch of the GSL Finals of 2016. As Sue just said, the boys at the desk as well. Johan, this is an amazing match, and it's only the round of 12. Impossible to predict who's going to take this one.
Yeah, it's difficult. Both players, they seem to have their strength. TY as of late has been playing really well. You keep on mentioning, you know, that big win over in China. $200,000, not bad amount of money to make in one tournament. He basically made more than I did in 7 years of Warcraft 3. So good job, respect the man for that. But Zest, all alike, not that long ago, he was very well known for how good he was versus Terran with posting like something like that was 75% win rates versus 10. As of late, he struggled a little bit more. Lost his last 3 encounters against Beyond, and he lost his last match against TI, which actually was in the American qualifier for this very tournament here in the Intellectual Masters Katowice. So maybe not doing as well, but still, I would say not someone you can underestimate in the PvT ever.
Nah, never. Cannot count this man out. I love those shots, by the way, of Zest with the trophy 2 years ago, lifting it with one hand. I think in one of the interviews said, like, it was one of the challenges for me to lift it with one hand, because I always think they look weak when they use both hands. Like, Zest is just a total boss. Everybody else would be thinking about the actual game. He's thinking about how he's going to lift the trophy.
And kiss it.
Yeah. Well, our first map is going to be played on New Kirk City, a map we've seen a lot this weekend in this particular matchup. Seen a lot of Phoenix Adept. Is that going to be the case again? Over here on the right bottom side, we're looking at the main base of one of the best Terrans in the world. Give it up for TY.
And his opponents in the southwest, a previous Intel Extreme Masters Katowice champion playing as the Blue Protoss, it's of course Zest.
Had a rocky road getting here. He actually missed his flight, so he arrived a day later than everybody else. And a lot of people actually thought he was going to be too jet lagged to really perform well in the group stage. He made it out, that's the most important thing, but it wasn't a flawless victory. He didn't go 4-1 or 5-0.
Have you seen the physical condition he's in? Of course he's not jet lagged.
Even those men need rest every now and then.
True.
But yeah, it's great to still see him here. It's actually funny to think, of course, that 2 years ago, Zest won here in Katowice. Last year, we had a region lock tournament, so it was not possible for Zest to participate. Instead, he won GSL back then, around that period, right? Because he won GSL Season 1 against the same opponent, TY. I think there's a very realistic chance that if Katowice was an open tournament last year, that Zest could have gone back-to-back back then. Because if you're good enough to win GSL, you're obviously good enough to win pretty much any other tournament. And a year ago, this man was invincible in this matchup.
Let's talk a little bit about their styles here. Their TY, he showed in his earlier series versus Stats in this very tournament that obviously, much like many Terrans, he loved Widow Mines, and if he can set up a rhythm, that was actually on this map. Remember that the first Widow Mine did a little bit in the main middle line, then he kept on dropping towards the natural, main again, and he was able to be successful in that game. Ended up losing 1 and 2, but I don't think he looked bad at all. He was just Stats being the beast that he is recently up against TY.
That game 3, I already said it before in the pre-show. If you guys have missed TY against Stats game 3 of the group stage, you have to go back in the VODs and watch that game. Amazing game. I think TY did so many things right. At a certain point, I was like, there's no Protoss that can keep up with this. But somehow Stats was hanging in there like an absolute champ. But a must-see game. Either way, we'll see if this Reaper can get any damage done. Obviously, it shouldn't. Very fast Mothership Core here by Zest. I'm happy to see that. That should always give him 2 photon overcharges against the very first drop. But Terrans these days thought they got so good, they don't just fly in anymore. They always hover around the circle of the pylon. And they look at the Protoss, it's like, so, you want a photon overcharge or not? Because if you don't, you know, we're going to wiggle this mine in. It's a Stargate opening here from Zest. It's been incredibly popular throughout this entire weekend.
Yeah, in a nice little corner of his base, if he can prevent that Reaper from getting in there, that's gonna force TY to kind of keep on second guessing himself on what the tech could be. But TY, just like usually, is gonna be going for a quick starport, and these drops are gonna be happening. Well, actually, ooh,
Raven opening, I think.
yeah, should be, unless he wants to go absolutely crazy and go for a Banshee, which against his target, a lot of the time is gonna be bad news. But yeah, Ravens have been very popular. These auto turrets are no joke, and it's actually very hard to properly react against them as well, because it's still like fairly new. I guess by now most players have figured out that they're very dangerous. You need to evacuate your middle line. You need to make sure you have enough firepower to clean them up.
No, I totally agree. Auto turrets are very deadly in fights, but don't forget about the point defense drone as well. That's also incredibly useful. And of course, just keeping the Raven alive. Every single time you see an observer being sent across the map, you have to be careful. TY did not see it, that Zest also is going up to 3 bases ridiculously fast. It's been kind of a trend throughout this tournament. 3 minutes and 30 seconds, they go up to 3 bases. With a Raven here as well, I think if TY sees this, TY, I said this before, thought like, when you think of Beyond, right, you think of God like Micro, you think of Mario, you think of God speed play. I think TY is the absolute master of setting up his attacks, right, with Widow Mines, with tanks. Never makes a mistake when it comes to sieging up units at the right time.
Whoa, this could be very dangerous. All right, TY is in position. He timed that perfectly, by the way.
Yeah.
4 minutes 20, he knew that he had to be around his minerals. The Raven was there as well, ready to auto-turret and kill the Oracle, and actually Zest not going to be able to do any damage just yet.
First Phoenix across the map as well, but I think if TY spots his Nexus, which he did right now, right? Did the Reaper ever see it, or...? I'm actually surprised that Zest decided... Okay, he did see it. I'm surprised that Zest decided to expand there, as he has to be careful with his air units here, of course.
I think he wants TY to attack into him. Just make a ton of adepts, push him back and win.
You know what you always say, Todd, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it, and if TY attacks you, especially like this, with a Raven as well, if it gets a whole bunch of energy, he's going to need a phenomenal hold, that's all I can say.
I love this kind of play nowadays that we see, even from Zergs, you know, where like they go for something that says you have to attack me because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. But then they get ready for that attack that they know are going to come. It's the same thing here. Zest goes for the very quick third. He knows that Terran's going to be pushing into him. And TY is in a position where he kind of has to stay on two bases for a long time, mass and invest a lot into a big push that's going to be coming there.
It seems like Zest is kind of aware of this as well. I think you're right, Todd. I think he wants TY to attack him. He's going to skip the Robo for now. He's going to rely on the Oracle for detection, and he's just going crazy on the gateway count. He wants TY to attack him, and he wants to overrun him with a crazy amount of adapts. But once again, TY makes very, very few mistakes when it comes to executing slow and methodical attacks like the one he's planning right now.
I love the way this has been played so far here from both players. Revelation now going to be used. Not many units have died, but I already feel like so much has been happening in this game in terms of, you know, trying to read the opponent and planning out what's next. And we all know what's coming, that big clash and push that's going to be coming from TY.
I think this is one of these games that truly will come down to the very first big fight. TY moving out, but an army that's actually not that big. He has to be very careful. He's going to send the Raven towards the main, but there's a lot of Phoenixes. This is a risky move, Todd.
I would like the ultimate gamble.
Yeah. Oh my god, and so far it's paying off.
TY anticipates that those Phoenixes are going to be flying around this army to try and take a fight soon, so he knows that they're not going to be most likely around the main, so these auto turrets could wreck a mineral line very quick. Even if you pull back the probes, a lot of them are going to die here.
I mean, I would never question TY, but I still would have preferred if he would have just kept the Raven with the army, because his Raven is obviously super dead. He does get 5 probes very quickly of just his first turret. Probably going to drop the second turret over here as well. Yeah, he's like, okay, I can get 2 more at least. That's awesome. And he will get 2 more. He's not mining of that assimilated now either. Look at this Raven. This Raven is in trouble, Todd. It's in a lot of trouble.
He made it this far, but this is going to be the end for that guy. Yeah, maybe saving that, because like he basically prevented Zest from mining for a little bit. I'm actually surprised that Zest wants to be this aggressive. I mean, he's up against the Terran on 2 bases. We saw overextensions earlier.
The Phoenix, he has to be really careful. He's getting awfully close to those mines. He does barely avoid them. Oh my god, the Oracle as well. That's his only detection, Todd.
Yeah, he's going to have to remake one of those here in a second. And Zest, I'm really surprised that he's moved out like this. He's actually going to be counter-dropped by TY. And again, TY, once he can set up the pace, it's going to be so hard to stop this guy.
I feel like
an avalanche of Terran units.
I love how he lowered the depots. He's like, come on in, my friend. I've got a surprise for you, multiple Widow Mines. The Forge is going to be unpowered. That means no armor. That's going to hurt. All the Adepts are coming home, but not before. I think at least a couple of pros will be sniped. The Spine is getting gunned down as well. That's actually not enough Adepts. These Marines have a lot of DPS with +1 attack.
Yeah, Zest is waiting up there with the Phoenixes to pick up those Medivacs. Ends up picking up those Marines as well and killing them. But now that has allowed Zest, TY, sorry, to set up around that third base. This is what I was talking about. If you let this guy do damage with one of the drops, then he's going to set up all the next attacks, and Zest is going to go for it directly before the turret can finish there.
There's a couple of Widow Mines as well. How big will these connections be? They are quite big, but still quite a few Phoenixes left. However, these Liberators are pushing out a lot of damage, but the Marine count is dwindling, and it seems like Zest has defended. The biggest issue is, Todd, still no detection for Zest.
Yeah, but I think you can just ignore these Widow Mines, leave them there, overcharge if they go forward, or snipe them with units. And in the meantime, I mean, he has a Forge, so maybe he can get some cannons around the area.
Would you say that? Okay, that's good. That's a very good job there by Zest. He's able to deny 2 of those Widow Mines. He's getting a cannon oh my god. That's not so good. I don't know. I think it was decent for Zest, but I don't think it was good enough to run across the map and try to win. But he is going to do it. A couple of Marauders are doing a great job in soaking up this damage, and all of these Adepts will get cleaned up very quickly.
And it looks like a good fight for TY to clean up this wave of Adept. But look at this. He lost 10 SCVs here in the meantime, so he's still stuck on 2 bases.
Look at this, though.
Somehow kills a couple walkers with the Widow Mine in the main there.
No
but
robo.
58 probes to 42 SCVs, it means that Zest, as long as he doesn't keep on taking a lot of damage here from these Widow Mines, he's going to be able to get a lot of army out and potentially overwhelm the next attack of TY, who's getting a third command center right now, and could fly his main orbital to a new base as well.
I am amazed by the fact we still don't see a robot Zest. Look at the amount of money that Zest has, by the way. He doesn't have that much gas, but he's got a lot of minerals. Money Core takes one for the team there. One more medevac will get picked up. This is kind of a sloppy, crazy game by both players, I feel.
I mean, there is action all over the place from both of these guys.
The robo.
And finally, yeah, the robo goes down, so he's going to be going for some observers. This still hasn't been cleaned up. I guess the cannon is like in an odd spot, a little bit below the middle line.
Yep, one cannon is often not enough to keep your mineral line safe. Zest still mining more though, despite the fact that all those pros were not mining, and that is indeed quite crazy. You pointed out the worker lead that he created, but I'm quite worried about the upgrade stat. Zest's Forge is not doing anything. TY has 2-2 on the way. When you play Phoenix Adept, as that one medevac does get spotted by a whole bunch of adepts. It seems like Zest wants to go for it again. He still has quite a bit of money. I am shocked. He has no detection over here, Todd.
Yeah, he's just going to let those Widow Mines detonate on all of his adepts there. And the positioning was quite bad, actually. Like, the command center was blocking a lot of adepts from attacking, and TY is going to clean up Zest. He keeps on overextending. I don't understand why he's playing this aggressive. Just maybe take another base. I mean, I know with adepts and Phoenix, it feels like it's hard to transition, but if you're gonna take these fights in such a poor manner, in such a poor fashion, and keep on losing tons of adepts or have them being splashed from these Widow Mines, you're gonna be in trouble. And I have to say, I'm so impressed by TY's Widow Mine play. Never thought I'd say that about Terran, but he keeps on setting those up in beautiful places and at beautiful times. 5
more adapts make it into the back of the natural, but they won't get too much damage done at all. 2 SCVs went down, and that's obviously not a good trade. Finally, there is an observer on the map, and that's going to make Zest's life a tiny bit easier. Like, I understand as well what you said, that if you play Phoenix Adept, you want to trade, because it does very good against small armies, but not that good against massive Terran armies. But attacking without any sort of detection into multiple Widow Mines, there's almost no way that's ever going to end well for you.
Another pickup here on one of those Widow Mines in the middle of the map. +1 air weapons actually starting here for Zest, who's going to commit to this composition and style, going further into the game, and level 2 ground armor as well.
One of my favorite upgrades in the game. Of course, Phoenixes have a double attack, so if you get +1, you basically get +2 for what you would have got for like most units that shoot once. So it's an awesome upgrade for the Phoenixes, really makes them a lot better. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to shoot down those Liberators and also maybe intercepting a medevac drop or something.
It feels like the clock, there is a clock on Zest here, more so than for TY, because you mentioned how the Terran army becomes better as it becomes bigger over facing this massive amount of Adept and Phoenixes. And I think Zest, he should know that, but because the last few attacks have gone very poorly for him, he's just gonna kind of wanna sit back for now. And I feel like TY is in a fantastic position now. He's ahead in supply. He just made a couple ghosts, which are gonna be huge against this composition full of Adepts.
No, I totally agree. I'm quite worried here for Zest as well. I wonder what he's gonna go for. I mean, maybe drop a Templar Archives, maybe go for this Robotics Bay, or you just make more Phoenix Adept, but he's going to need a phenomenal engagement. The Adepts truly have to be right on top of the Marines. If they're not on top of the Marines, if they start shooting at Marauders, it's not going to work. This is the game-deciding fight. The Liberators are not really doing all that much, but the Widow Mines had massive connections, and look at these upgrades doing work for TY, Todd.
Yeah, the Phoenixes took forever to go into the fight. Zest has to tap out, and TY takes the lead here. Zest actually completely bypassed these 3 Liberators as well. Like this, if the game had been more equal, maybe it would have been good for him, but TY didn't even care. He's like, you know what, I have enough. These ghosts are gonna clean up, and so they did.
Yeah, the EMPs were massive. A couple of Widowmine connections were very good. And the upgrades, he had +2 attack, +2 armor against just 1-1, I believe it was, for Zest. And that's just not enough. In that phase in the game, it's truly nice if you have something else to fall back on. Whether it's Colossus or, you know, Disruptors, or perhaps a Storm or 2, even though ghosts were already out. I think Zest had a strong early game, and I think the first fight wasn't really all that bad. I think the second fight, where he went really deep near the 3rd base of TY, I think that's where the game truly went wrong for him, and he started taking a lot of damage from all those mines.
I was really surprised to see Zest wanting to play this aggressive. Like, obviously we see all the numbers, we see how big TY's army was, but for Zest to be able to keep a close eye on whether there was a 3rd base on the way is very, very hard. Maybe he thought there had been a 3rd command center started, and that he had to go for the attack now because TY was not going to have as much as he thought there was. Also, like, keep in mind, the Adept vision, the new vision, or it's not that new anymore, right? But the change on that vision is huge. Like nowadays, we see a lot of overextension with the depths, and it's really due to the vision being nerfed, which I think was necessary. Like before, you could see way too much when you were gonna shade in. So
from 9 to 2 was a little extreme, though, Todd. You know how many bad shades I've made in my life right now? It's like, oh, let's just deny this creep tumor. Boom, into 5 Banelings. It's like, oh, I'm not hurt. This is not embarrassing at all, guys. Game number 2 between these two amazing StarCraft players is going to be played on Abyssal Reef. I think this is a pretty decent Terra map as well. There are so many different paths you can take to your opponent's base, and it's pretty easy to get a couple of wall-offs going. Can this man get a quick 2-0 lead in this round of 12 matchup? Give it up for TY.
and his opponent needs to bring it back. He needs your support. Playing as the Blue Protoss, it is Zest.
I think we're gonna see the same out of Zest. I mean, it's definitely been, without a doubt, the most popular build of this tournament in this matchup. Good old Phoenix Adept. Do you think he's gonna do it again, or do you perhaps see him go back to his roots? Like, I always loved Zest when he was opening up with Blink, you know, just defensive Blink, try to shoot down a medevac, control the map, get a couple observers out.
Zest's prime versus Terran was either playing with Blink Stalkers and already being very successful with them, whether he was gonna go into Colossus, or that standard Blink Stalker Colossus with 1 or 2 Forges, third base, super smooth. I remember all these games on King Sejong Station, remember, and all these maps where it would look just so perfect. He would take a quick third, get the exact right amount of Colossus, the splits were always there. And nowadays that style hasn't been as good, it feels like. It's not in fashion anymore.
Yeah, Zest's PvT on Dusk Towers was a piece of art. Like the way he went up to 4 bases after opening Blink, then following up with Glaives, double forge, fast 4 base. It was amazing to watch. It was so rock solid. He never took any damage, relied on a couple of sentries to keep the bio units at bay. But the moment that the tank pushes became a lot more popular, that style kind of fell off, because Zest truly relied on the sentries to buy a little bit of time or cut that Terran army in half, and suddenly that wasn't possible anymore because obviously, you know, the tanks outrange those Protoss units, and that's kind of when he stopped. But I'd love to see him go back to those roots. I'd love to see some gateway play. Feeling the hype for Zest over here, the Polish crowd. I love this Polish audience. They're here every year. They show up at the beginning of the day, you know. We go to tournaments all around the world, Todd, and it's always the same, you know. In the beginning, it's like, okay, there's quite some people here, and after a couple of hours, it starts to fill up a little bit. These guys, they fill up the auditorium before the first game is live. I love it.
And there is actually a sick queue to try and get in there, so hang in there, guys. Hopefully everybody can check out some games today. We got so many amazing games. Like, looking at this bracket, it's like, well, it's gonna be some good StarCraft today and tomorrow as well in the Spodek.
Just hope there won't be any riots for the Nerd Show game. People was like, I've been driving 500 kilometers to see Nerd Show. Get me in these auditoriums. Like, no, sir. We already have way too many people in here. You can't.
It's gonna be hype. The fact that he plays stats too is actually crazy. But hold on, TY with the first Reaper Scout here, gonna be able to see the Stargate nicely. He's pretty much gonna be aware from the very start here of what's up. Can make sure he's in position for the Oracle that we'll basically always see. Like, I don't think I've seen too many people go straight into Phoenixes.
I think that was a very clutch moment last game when Zest lost his Oracle. And he also didn't remake it. Like, that was crazy. That Oracle had a lot of energy.
That was bad.
Because he was ready to attack that army multiple times and obviously use Revelation on individual Widow mines as well. Losing it against those 2 random mines in the middle of the map, I think that truly hurt Zest.
You talked about how Terrans... Whoa, he's actually gonna... No, it's just a cancel. Or maybe not. Yeah, you talked about how Terrans, they got so good with their medivacs, they just kind of fly around the edges where it's safe. They make sure they don't overcommit and all that. Whoa, that's sick. But I think it's like that for a lot of things. And even the Widowmine placement in the previous game, I think TY was fishing for these Oracle and Phoenixes, and that's what he got. If you try and achieve something like that, and then you get it, you set yourself up for the rest of the game in a very good position. Is Zest going to be ready for this?
No, this could get very, very problematic, Todd, because gateway number 2 and 3 are really quite late. Adapts are terrible against bunkers. There's really no way you can kill a bunker.
There is not much back at home actually to defend against the Oracle, so that's a sick bluff by TY.
Did he have a Widowmine though? Didn't he have a Widowmine or a Viking?
I thought the Widowmine went across the map.
Wow, did he have nothing?
Yeah, that was a sick
Whoa,
grab.
that's a good connection there. Not many units. How many units does TY have currently? Can we take a look at that? He had one mine left behind, I think, though. Oh my god, this Nexus is in so much trouble. I think this Nexus might die. There is no pylon, there is no photon overcharge. How on earth is he supposed to kill that bunker, Todd? I don't think he can. I think the Nexus is dead.
Zest might have to evacuate that base and then retake that later.
That
would be huge for TY.
What a play. What a cool little move here by TY. If he doesn't have that bunker, he will never be able to kill that Nexus. He just killed the Nexus with the very first drop. He's going to try to drop the mine here.
That was
well.
greedy.
Yeah.
Definitely could have kept that alive. Actually getting out of there for the Medivac and Marines is going to be tough because Phoenixes are ready to fly in and snipe everything. Resonating Blades and +1 now going to start for Zest.
Still, that was really unfortunate. Zest could potentially expand somewhere else.
It's funny, he's got the minerals. He wants to expand, but that one bunker at the 5th minute mark is still there.
I would just expand on the low ground there on the 3rd. Even though that is kind of annoying when you expand on the low ground of your rocks, where the natural is, you have to worry about the high ground all the time because the Terra can always drop a mine on the high ground, and then suddenly you hear your base is under attack and it's a mine from above that just connected. Like if you expand here, you have to get a pylon on the high ground. If you don't have it, there's going to be mines here and they'll blow up your entire mineral line.
That was actually incredibly smart to have an SCV there. Like I don't think I had seen that before because that bunker makes a world of difference. If the Marines were on the ground, Medivac or not, even with the Widowmine in support, Adepts would have killed all of these units quite easily. So having the bunker basically made a world of difference, and he didn't even need to be standing in it either. He just stood in front of it, shooting, and if Adepts would have come forward, then he would have loaded up the bunker. That was super cool here. I hope more players do that in the future.
Yeah, it's a great little move there. That was just the initial scouting SCV, I believe. Right now. 4 extra gates are going to be thrown down. TY has spotted that extra Nexus going down on the low ground, but with the first 2 Liberators on the way, 2 more Midovines being produced, this is going to be hard, man. This is going to be a very scary push once TY goes for it. And Zest's build has been really, really disrupted by losing that Nexus. He's not in a good place right now, Todd.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking. Like he probably thinks he should take on that route of going for Adept and Phoenixes, but with the Orobo being added on earlier, a little bit earlier, maybe transitions into Colossus or something. I haven't seen too many people try for that, and actually when they did, I don't necessarily think they were successful. There might have been like 1 or 2 games from Showtime earlier in the tournament where he did this. TY seems to not want to rush for that 3rd base ever, but now with the lead that he has, I actually like that he starts as a 3rd command center now. I think
what a
very
ninja.
Smart.
You saw the ninja Adept. It's like 7 Marines were coming from him. It's like, we heard you took the life of one of our SCVs. And the Adept's just gone, Todd. It's gone. Running to the left bottom side. Nice move there by Zest. Delaying that base obviously helps a little bit. There's only a single Marine in this, so... Oh my god, if he gets away, go on, run! Run, little guy! I want him to make it home, Todd.
Phoenixes, man.
He's got a story to tell.
They're not even coming.
That's
He
amazing.
spared him.
Oh my god.
You will be back.
What a ninja.
With many of his friends. That's a lot of Phoenixes, by the way. And I think he's going to need this many at least to get rid of those Liberators. Moves in there. Revelation is used. There is so many Marines, though, that are going to attack into these Phoenixes.
That's actually a pretty decent fight, I think, for Zest, because the Widowmines did a little bit of friendly fire as well. I hear a lot of Marines die, and in the end, the Liberators will get picked off as well. Zest actually wins that battle pretty decisively. Really good use of the adaptability.
And that Revelation was sick, actually. He hit everything. The Widowmines in particular are the important ones that you need to detect.
It's important it doesn't overextend now. He's going to be able to find his medevac as well. Takes out the medevac. Meanwhile, the Ninja Marine is still alive. He should run to the high ground to kill some probes. Come on, mate. You survived 1 war. You can do it again.
During the fight. He doesn't hear it. Could go out a bit. War Prism on the way. And Zest, after crushing an attack like this, you want to try and counter-attack, but against a wall of Terran, you can't really. So I think he might just wait for the Prism to be out and then go forward and wait until TY just takes a 3rd to try and kill him, basically.
I'd really like to see a Roboway right now, Todd, for Colossus. Like, Disruptors are awesome too, but it's very hard to control an army of Phoenix, Disruptors, and Adepts because you have to use abilities on all 3 units and you can't really sync that up perfectly. But I'd love to see a Roboway with some Colossus fall back, get a Sentry as well. Guardian Shield has a massive impact on a Marine-heavy army. That was one of the better fights of Phoenix Adept I've seen throughout the entire tournament.
+1 air weapon starting once again. I wonder how does he time that, actually? Like, does he wait until he has a certain amount of Phoenixes, like 10 or something, or?
I think it truly depends on how the game is going for him.
You think if it's going bad, it just doesn't start it,
No.
makes units?
It's not like a real comeback upgrade. That's a good connection there. Getting 4 probes. There's another mine drop heading towards the main, or, well, same matter of fact, but the second mine is going to be dropped over here. This one won't get 4. He's going to have to settle for 1. I mean, getting 5 workers, but if he ends up losing another medevac and both Widow Mines, it's not great. Come on, Zest, you've got so much money. You got money, you've got gas. I'd love to see a Robo-Bait. I really think it would be incredibly useful.
Just gonna start at +2 ground weapons. Ghost Academy going down for TY, so maybe the same timing that we saw in the previous game, except this time around he has the third quite a bit earlier. The 3 ghosts usually is the amount you want to make to den attack, unless you want to pull a happy Mass Ghost and Cannon Turtle. Actually, second starport now starts here for TY, interestingly.
He wants to sit back, maybe get some Liberator range later on as TY starting his 2-2 upgrades. This time there is a War Prism heading towards the main, but there's a Viking left behind. Well done there by TY. He shouldn't take too much damage. That is a massive Warpin. Can he kill the Prism before the Warpin is done? No, he cannot. So that's actually a lot of adapts, and it's going to force TY to send more units. Meanwhile, Zest is shading in the third base as well. A lot of Marines are in the front there, top, but a couple of Widow Mines should keep this Terran army sort of safe. That is a ridiculous amount of Protoss, though. Oh my god, and those Marines are trapped.
He's gonna shave in there, trapped inside of his own base here. It's TY. Zest gonna move in there to try and equalize the score, and he crashes through this Terran army. GG.
Wow, some perfect shading there by Zest, and TY raising those depots. Actually trapped all of those Marines and Marauders. Zest with a much better game too, which actually kind of started off a little disaster. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a total disaster, but losing that third Nexus normally really does hurt.
Zest is best, you can chant it, because that was the case here in this game. Very solid all around, even though he lost that Nexus. Somehow he was way worse than the first game. Like, first game he got away easily with his third Nexus, still lost. Like, I feel like the world's upside down in some of these games.
It was that big fight on the low ground of his third base where he just had a perfect shade. The moment the shade completed, all I heard, game sound wise, was Marines dying. And that's when you know the Adepts are doing the right thing. You don't want the Adepts to just straight up die against...
So I guess you found the key to winning in this scenario. You keep the Oracle alive. No, I'm never going to win a PvT.
Oracles obviously make a massive impact as well, because he could actually clean up everything. But it's just that the Adepts were in a phenomenal position. He was able to kill all the Marines. Marines do way more damage than Marauders. The Marauders are just kind of there to protect the Marines. It takes a long time before an Adept kills a Marauder, but it takes even longer for a Marauder to kill an Adept. What you want to kill is the Marines, and this time Zest truly succeeded. Finals destination in killing all those Marines. I think that Marine actually did make it to the end of the game.
Did he?
Yeah, the one that squeezed out of that bunker. That was the sickest escape. Someone should write a novel about that Marine. That was like a James Bond type of Marine. He was surrounded, his bunker, his house was surrounded by Adepts.
Oh, he was spared, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
James Bond doesn't exactly get spared, right?
Well, I mean, he did run very fast, though. Not everybody runs that fast. Game number 3 is going to be played on Proxima Station, a map that has been giving us some great games throughout this tournament. Hopefully that happens one more time as we're looking at the main base of our Korean Terran. He was up 1-0, it's even now. Give it up for TY.
In the north, playing as the blue Protoss, some say is best. It is Zest.
Did you see what he was doing with his right hand? He's kind of just like having it very high on the keyboard and just tapping it like he was playing the piano.
Well, you know what? He might as well be, considering how well he's playing and how beautiful these games look here. Fantastic game number 2, really. Very inspiring, I have to say. Kind of hard to pull off the way he does it, but playing that Adept Phoenix side is actually insanely hard to do. Like, one single mistake, just a couple of Widow Mines too many. Your entire army gets blown up, but when you're Zest, you can make it look this easy. Like I said, it's kind of like the world is upside down, right? Like, game number 1, he gets away super easily with the third Nexus. Usually that's when Protoss defends perfectly, and then they end up winning. And it's like, well, what can you even do against a guy who takes the third base so quick? Well, TY wins game 1. Game 2, kills the third, and then loses against a super convincing Zest.
I guess the Liberators were a tiny bit missieged as well, or just better positioning of the Adepts by Zest, but obviously that comes down to where the bio is as well, because in a certain point you're forced to shade in, because you have to get on top of those Marines, because the longer you wait, the harder it gets, and if he gets a missile turret or two as well, it becomes even a lot harder for your Stargate units.
The split on the shades was probably really good as well. Like, it was kind of hard to follow, but
Also friendly fire.
Yeah, friendly fire is very important. Like, if you can get the perfect shade over like a really bad one, it can make a wall of difference in one of those fights. And now it was like everything went his way. TY's
Proxy
he's
factory.
known for doing he's known for doing this kind of stuff. So I actually wonder if Zest might fly his mothership core. We've seen proxies being scouted earlier on in some series. And actually, last time, wasn't it like just a little bit below this main base here?
Yeah, most of the time, whenever the proxy
That's where he's
factory,
gonna check first.
Yeah, it's on the left side here, like somewhere near the goal. You just build it here and then you fly it in. These builds are very deadly, especially because most Protoss players don't open up with a Robo, and just a single Oracle is gonna have a very hard time cleaning up multiple Widow Mines. We'll see. It could also be like Widow Mine into a Cyclone. Like, Cyclones are also incredibly powerful. And this Mothership Core thought is going to be way out of position. Zest really needs to identify that this is happening. Otherwise, it's going to be incredibly ugly. Oh god, we've all been here. I think TY has been watching that rough stream. Does it every second game.
It's going to be spotted though.
Yep.
Yeah, barely gets spotted here. Widow Mine production is going to begin. At Stargate, he's going to queue an Oracle as soon as it finishes.
But this is still really hard to deal with though, because even if you know it's here right now, what do? You don't have enough DPS.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not attacking it actually.
Yeah, but like an Adept is never going to kill the
Yeah,
factory.
but if you, I guess he's going to get it close enough to the... Oh, actually, I think the Mothership Core across the map means he's going to have to recall, and he's going to have one less overcharge to work with.
He's actually opening up with the Oracle. Maybe, would you go double Oracle here, or Oracle? Maybe I would get a Stalker, right? Like, probably getting one Stalker to outrange the mines. Reaper in the main base as well is also very annoying, so that forces at least one Adept to chase this Reaper. This is getting very intense right now. Both players microing on each side of the map. What's that Mothership Core doing? Is it still alive? He recalled it to the natural, alright. So far, Zest is doing a really good job in dealing with this, but he's not out of the woods just yet. Used Revelation on the right mine. There's one more mine though, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, he forces that to be burrowed away from this probe, so Zest, he's held quite well here, I think. Yeah. 37 probes to 32 SCVs, he's done his job. Third Nexus now gonna start.
That's crazy to me. He's still going up to 3 bases that quickly. Doesn't even have a Robo. I'd be so paranoid, I'm always so worried. He did a great job in preventing those mines from getting into good positions. Very impressive play. Well, the Mothership Core was on the other side of the map. That's so crazy to me, Todd.
Zest is with a sick hold right there, going to be going for a Forge. Still no Robo, I mean it's standard, right? So you want to go for that +1 very importantly, and Resonating Blades as well. Not quite ready for that drop in the main.
But this drop is also quite committed, right? Because there are multiple Phoenixes out already. So
and he needs to keep units there. Oh! When Widowmine sneaked away and burrowed in the inside that natural mineral line there. That was sick actually, he went all the way around.
This is going to connect as well with that left Adept, and now things are going from bad to worse, I think, for Zest.
Oh, he reveals only one.
I don't think he could get both though. They're too far apart.
Yeah, that would have been risky. But that means that the other one's going to be still burrowed down there in the threads.
And the drop, yeah, the drop is still alive. Resonating Glaives is not done yet, so TY could perhaps micro his Marines here a tiny bit. I like how this is going right now for TY, and he's building more and more and more mine stud. There's still no Robo. Zest needs to get a cannon. I think his Forge has finished up. He needs to get a cannon. Good connection there, at least on the... Imagine if he would have focused the Oracle with the mine.
Yeah, I think he was baiting that here to try and get a good detonation on those Phoenixes. Weakens a lot of them.
One Phoenix very low on HP. TY could focus fire. It's Zest obviously aware of this. I think right now this is perhaps the end of the drop. He has the Oracle too, so he could activate Pulsar Beam. No, he doesn't chase. Wow. Oh my god. Widowmine again sneak during all of this. TY is happening. He's doing a good job in distracting Zest. And these mines are wreaking havoc. How many pros have died in this game? I think it's like 12 or something. That's a lot of dead workers, thought.
Considering Zest is taking that quick third as well. He's actually behind in walkers right now, 42 to 47, so he's gonna have to catch back up. And TY this time around started a way earlier third base than he did in previous games. He actually probably fully realizes how ahead he is in terms of economy, and from there he can basically already kind of start to time his huge attack that he will do as a follow-up eventually that will be a lot stronger than in the previous game.
Super fun game, right? Because I was incredibly impressed with how Zest was dealing with it at first, but perhaps even more impressed with the way that TY handled the follow-up. He's like, okay, the opening wasn't what I was dreaming of, but now I've got this drop.
This factory! MVP!
You could build a Cyclone, though. Do you know how good Cyclones are?
Yes, you do. I do.
Just do it.
I have nightmares about Cyclones.
Like, what you do is just like you run across the map with your massive army, then you plant this factory in the main, and you build a Cyclone, and you run it into a middle line. And then people pull probes, and then every probe dies. This Cyclone has like 300 HP. It's a little less than that.
Zest actually gonna attack. Like every time he moves forward like that, I'm like, alright, he's trying to trigger. Okay, woo!
Donation.
Yeah, I'm like, he's trying to trigger a drop across the map that he can defend, but every time it feels like he's, or at least a few times, he's overextended in those scenarios. So gonna have to be careful there. +1 air weapons now starts, and he's gonna be once again the same style here from Zest.
He's even chronobussing it, so he's really putting a lot of priority in that upgrade. Probably finds it very important. Once again, those Phoenix do attack twice, so it is a massive.
They are not the best unit against Liberators, right? He takes a lot of shots, so I think that +1 can make a world of difference.
He even gets a Stargate. Wow. He's gonna go all out on the Sky Toss. Let's make a whole bunch of Phoenixes, I guess. No Robos. This is one of those no Robo games.
Well, you know why this is super smart? What counters mass Phoenixes very well? Widow Mines. The factory is across the map, and it's been the entire game. How is TY gonna get enough Widow Mines to deal? He's actually gonna kill it. And last I checked, I don't think TY remade that factory back at home.
I think you might be right about that.
Yeah. It's almost as if with this build, oh, Force Command Center.
I mean,
TY is just gonna slow down.
You're definitely partly right about Widow Mines countering Phoenix, but let's not forget about the Marine. The Marine is still pretty damn good.
They're too busy dying from the Shades and the Adepts, mate.
That is true if it's pure Marine, but obviously the Marauders are supposed to be there. The Marauders are kind of the bodyguards of the Marine. The Marine are the MVPs, and the bodyguards, they're meat. They're here to protect the Marines from the crazy femboys that are the Adepts and trying to get way too close to them.
That is a sick comparison, man.
You know I'm right.
Couple more gateways being added on here. I think Zest is happy with his current walker count, even though he's most likely going to add a few more. And we're going to start seeing cannons being added on in each middle line right now. It's the perfect time, right? Like, I mean, TY, even in late game, he's going to drop some Widow Mines in some middle lines. But, okay, he just finished this factory that I think he remade. Very important. We'll see if he actually goes into more Widow Mines. And the Ghost Academy again here being added on.
I really like what TY is doing right now. He's just sitting back. He's like, okay, you know, if you're that eager to just mass Phoenix Adept. Phoenix Adept is really good, but only for so long. Good job there by Zest getting one of these medevacts. But he's only getting, you know, he's just getting a couple of small pickups here and there, Todd. The thing is, though, if Zest maxes out on Phoenix Adept, I don't see him kill a maxed out TY, especially not if ghosts are out as well, right? Todd agrees. He's with us. There's multiple Phoenixes on the way, 4 probes being produced at once, and a couple of Vikings are on the way now as well. Missile turrets being added. We'll see how this goes. I kind of like what TY is doing. He's just going to sit back. TY's maxed out army, especially if he has Ghost, is going to be a lot better than a maxed out Protoss on Adept Phoenix.
How do you see the fight going, actually? Like, with this amount of units from the Terran, like, it's just, it feels like it's almost too hard to win a fight with just pure Adepts.
Yep.
But Zest has put himself in a good position. He's getting those upgrades nicely. The second Forge would have been quite nice, for sure.
He's getting +1 armor on the Phoenixes. Now, that's not something I see very often.
What do you think is the best transition if Zest was to transition eventually?
Double Robo Colossus, because...
Only?
Yeah, because TY is incredibly Marine
You would never
heavy.
go charge here when you have this many gateways already?
No. Charge is very good until the Terran goes past 145, 150 supply.
Yeah.
Then I think it's very hard to get a lot of value.
Especially if there is Ghost, right? Because
Yeah.
if you go chargeless, you're gonna go for Archons no matter what to spend your extra gas. Is he actually serious? I hope not.
I think he is, Todd. He might get a couple of goals, but those EMPs are big, and this Planetary is about to finish up as well. The Liberators are a little bit out of position, but these missile turrets are really going to hurt. The Oracle dies. There is no way, Zest. There is just no way. This Terran army is way too big.
Huge overextension here by Zest, who throws away so much army. Look at the supply rod. He starts on falling quite a bit behind here. And TY, this might trigger a huge counterattack. He really hasn't lost much of anything at all here. And I mean, we talked about the Phoenix. in massive amounts against this army. The Marine count is super heavy here. And with those upgrades kicking in eventually here from TY, if he was to do something like a 3-2 timing with a couple ghosts, Zest is going to be in a world of trouble there in this game and series.
You just can't go there. I mean, the missile turrets just force these Phoenixes to stay back. I love what TY is doing here. This is not the most fun thing ever. I'm sure that TY would much rather be trading. I'm sure that he would much rather be dropping. But you can't drop against this many Phoenixes. He's like, all right, man, if you refuse to transition, I will not move out. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to get a planetary. I'm going to get missile turrets. And I'm going to max out. And my maxed out army is going to absolutely murder Phoenix Adept. And that's just what happened.
Yeah, personal cloaking is going to be actually huge here. There is not that much detection from Zest, so for him to actually spot these ghosts, even ghosts left over after a fight do a ton of damage to these armies. Yeah, he has absolutely zero detection. No detection at all. No observer, no oracle.
What a unit composition. What a time to be alive. 39 Adepts, 23 Phoenix. Todd, I think this is going to be...
a whole lot of turrets.
I think this is going to be one of the most one-sided max-out battles you've ever seen. Obviously, the turrets would be very useful. One Liberate is being very annoying. A couple of SUVs are dying as well. But look at these Adepts. This is not a good position, I think, at all. EMPs are raining down as well. The Phoenixes will swing in. But once again, Zest loses like 25 Adepts in the blink of an eye. This just doesn't cut it, Todd. He needs something else this late into the game. Thor is soon here as well.
These Liberators kill so much, by the way. I think TY sent them around the map and queued them to...
every single base?
yeah, to every single base that he could. 26 probes in total were sniped, so for Zest to remax is actually going to be really difficult, even though he's getting 2 Nexuses right now, somehow. But yeah, Thor in the production now for TY, who's basically about to remax very, very quickly after that fight, and I think keep on pushing forward with turrets. That's all he has to do. Stay next to the turrets so that the Phoenixes can't fly in. And it's going to be almost impossible for Zest to take a good engagement and win a fight here.
I mean, it's beautiful what TY is doing, but I also think it's incredibly stubborn of what Zest is doing. I want to give kudos to TY for making all the right calls here, making the right judgment. I think he's going to shade on top of the army. Yes, he does. Well, that's 20 more dead Adepts. There is no way, Zest. This army is way too good against Phoenix Adept. GG, TY takes a 2-1 lead. And if you at home wonder, how do you deal with a guy that only makes Phoenix Adept? Well, there are multiple timings that can work, but you can also sit back, Todd, and eventually your opponent will need to build something else.
Yeah, that maxed out army from TY was no joke. I wonder how he would have gone if Zest hadn't attacked, though, because attacking into a planetary plus turrets, obviously that was a big mistake. If he sits back, he's still kind of in trouble, but at least he's not fighting against a planetary and turrets and throwing away most of his army instantly.
I think no matter how you look at it, eventually you're forced to transition. I think Phoenix Adept is in a very strong combo early on. It's very strong against, like, 60 army supply, maybe 70. Above that, it gets rough. The moment you're looking at a maxed out Terran, that's basically at 130 army supply. I don't know what to make of it. What I do know is that TY is up 2-1. Let's check in with the boys at the desk to see what they have to say about the first 3 games.
That's right, 2-1 currently for TY, looking pretty darn good. And overall, it seems like Zest is very much so on the Adept Phoenix train, but some of these engagements, Artosis, aren't quite going the way that he really wants.
Yeah, you can't stay on Adept Phoenix forever, okay? Like, Adepts are Protoss roaches. That's like exactly what they are. They're very strong up to a point in the game.
Yeah.
And then they don't work so much anymore. When you have, like, 8 depth of units that shoot 4 length, they aren't going to hit very much. And when your opponent gets a huge technical army that's maxed out, that's set up how he wants, like, of course that technicality is going to beat your Protoss roaches.
Yeah, it's got a lot of strength at a very specific point in the game, because Adepts are kind of beefy, right? And if you get a good position set up, you can certainly win a fight, and that comboed with the Phoenixes, because whenever the Phoenixes come out, you can try to remove whatever the key unit is, and it's different every time. But yeah, I mean, you end up with a less and less sophisticated tech as the game goes on. So if TY can last in a game like that, he'll be fine.
Yeah, it kind of feels like an early mid-game strength where you do actually technically shade straight onto a smaller pack of bio and then able to kill it off very quickly. But anyway, Artosis, I believe you do have something for us.
Yeah, I just want to kind of show, because there's been a lot of Adept Phoenix. A lot of players are going for that. And the thing is, the Terran gets into a mindset a lot of times against Protoss, because if you let Protoss like grow and get to that late game splash damage, it becomes very hard to actually kill them. But with the Adept Phoenix players, no one's transitioning. I want to jump into this replay real quick and kind of show the moment where TY won the game. You see that right there? That's a 4th command center, okay? He's got Liberators set up. He's got a bunker. We're hitting 140 supply. And this is how you go ahead and beat Phoenix Adept, is if he's continuing, at this point he's trying to go 2 Phoenixes at a time and Adepts, you have to let him engage you to win. So if you just sit back a little bit turtly like this and take an additional base, and we're eventually going to see him move out and build mass turrets and put down Widow Mines and siege up Liberators, then you're in complete control. And he's got all this extra supply, and like literally Zest can't switch into anything else because he's maxed out at this point, right? So as long as you're sitting in formations like this, look at this.
There's no way.
You cannot shade in there. You cannot kill that. And if Zest suddenly starts just bleeding units off, that's when you can decide, like, okay, maybe I can kill him. Maybe he's trying to switch into Splash now. But this was exactly the right thing. And this is why TY is so good strategically. The first time when Phoenix Adept was very popular at the beginning of Legacy of the Void, he figured this out as well. And in this game, he's kind of showing this old way of countering this strategy. And this is what he does even against Zerg in very late game against Ultras or something. Just set up, hunker down, and destroy the player that's trying to get you to engage him.
You know, one thing as well is that when TY has like 4 bases set up and they're safe, which, you know, if you're getting close to maxed out or you're maxed out, you're going to have the units to basically be safe against Phoenix Adept. Phoenix Adept does not break it. Basically, no matter what. I mean, you can try to shade on top, but they're going to die to all the Liberators, all the mines. That's why you want to do something early to try to punish Terran when they're pushing out. Phoenixes can gun down Medivacs. The Terran's, let's say, moving out of his base, you can shade all the way in, let's say, to the 3rd or to the main, do damage there. But yeah, the longer TY's in the game, the worse that unit comp is.
All right, well, thank you very much, gents. We'll be checking in with you at the very end of the series. For now, we head back over to the commentary desk as this series continues.
Thanks very much, guys. It feels like TY has figured out Zest here for now in his style. Good thing to do, I think, for Zest would be to maybe change things up, play to his image, maybe take to Colossus, do something completely different. But this +1 Mass Phoenix, I don't think TY should be looking to lose to it anymore, ever, unless he really messes up at some point in the game.
Yeah, every game is obviously unique, and there are some situations where maybe TY does overextend, or maybe TY makes a push he didn't have to make. But I agree with you, Todd. I'd be so happy to see some Blink play, to see a Twilight opening, or go Robo Twilight, anything like that. Believe in yourself, Zest. You've shown us in the past you can play any style with Protoss. Is this man gonna advance to the quarterfinals, Todd, or will his opponent make a comeback? Either way, he's a red there on the right top side. Give it up for TY. Oh, Zest, of course, one of the last 2 remaining Protoss players in this tournament.
His opponents, he has a lot of fans there. Let's make some noise so that he can come back for Zest. I'm sure he would be hugely disappointed if he was to go out here like this way. Ex-teammates in TY.
Our Protoss brothers are struggling, Todd. I think we need a Johan Merlo comeback. Not exactly sure what the audience is trying to tell us, but they're very pumped about something, Todd, and that's awesome.
About the game, man. These have been some great games, quite inspiring. Even in the games that Zest loses, like I can still see some things, you know, that could be tweaked here and there.
The initial defense against the Proxy Factory was awesome. I was incredibly impressed with it. It's just more that the follow-up.
When the Marine drop happened and then the Widow Mine started relocating and he wasn't looking, but honestly, I'm the last guy who could fault him for that because it happens to me all the time. Like, you don't look at your mineral line for 1 second, all of a sudden there's a Widow Mine, and then Merry Christmas, like, you're in trouble.
Especially happens when the factory is in your base.
That factory was sick, actually, like literally MVP.
It was alive for a very long time. TY is going to follow it up with his own expand, nothing too crazy. We don't see a crazy 1 base opening. We saw one Terran attempt to go for a one-base opening this tournament. I believe it was Gumio. Tried to go for Cloak Banshee. Unfortunately for him, he played against the Proxy Stargate and straight up died. So they said never again.
You know, I think like you put us on the right trail from game one. You mentioned the robo being extremely late, or maybe there wasn't even a robo. No, he made it like very, very late.
Yeah, 14 minutes in.
So I think the key here for Zest to maybe solve this is to go for a robo earlier, make sure he gets some observer, and the Warp Prism. If you have Adept with Resonating Glaives and attack upgrades, a Warp Prism can go a long way to kill a ton of SCVs and put you very far ahead. Now look at the positions. It's super easy for Zest to reach the natural base of TY, and he actually is simply gonna open Robo here in this game, so not gonna have the usual Stargates. Yeah, just playing Robo, at some point having a Warp Prism, being able to drop Adepts. The thing is though, the third base of Zest is gonna be very exposed, because it's towards where TY is out on the map, so defending that is always the tricky part when the big push that we see almost every single game comes, and a double Hellion production. Actually.
Yeah, I actually kind of like this opening because there's a lot of space in the main base of Onyx rounds, and Protoss often have their units a little bit split up early on. They're just worried about the Reaper and truly nothing else. This Reaper, if it can pull both Adepts out of position, 2 Hellions could run into the main base and kill a whole bunch of workers immediately. But it's gonna be hard. This Reaper is actually gonna die immediately. Perhaps did not expect to see the Mothership Core there. Did he see the robotics facility? Can take a look at that. No, he did not. The Hellion should be able to see it. Now the unit's tiny bit out of position. It's good Sim City though, but these Hellions should be able to get a couple of decent shots off that.
There's
And no
photon
photon
on
overcharge. Oh god, this is gonna be bad. If he ends up losing 4 probes or something, it really hurts. He really wants those probes. Doesn't get them.
Wow.
Bad driver.
Did he lose 0 probes?
Yeah, 1 maybe.
What in the world just happened? I was already picturing, you know, 15 probes dying, but I guess the defense was there. TY maybe a little bit hesitant with the second Hellion, sending it back. Blink now on the way.
How cool.
Great map to maybe Blink as well towards the natural base and to damage. Maybe a good old 7 gates Blink Stalkers. Remind us why all of these maps, you know, with big ramps around the main and natural used to be so deadly for Protoss.
I wouldn't be upset, but you know what would make me truly happy, Todd? He's never gonna do it, of course. You know what I'm gonna say? Blink into charge.
I'm still gonna say Blink into Colossus. Like,
yeah, no, obviously that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Is most likely Blink first, then we might see double Forge or single Forge Colossus, then eventually Resonating Glaives just to add something else to the army. But if it would be Blink, Colossus, then charge, I'm pretty happy. Ooh, Widowmine in the back of the main base. Kind of missed his medevac. He's gonna get a decent hit there. Gets the Adept and 1 probe, I believe.
TY is so sick.
But that could have been a lot worse though. So I'm okay with that defense from Zest. As we see the Robo Bay being warped in.
And 1 single Forge here for now. No matter what the stage in the game is, TY always has Widowmine in your main line. Double Forge actually behind this.
Yeah, double Forge Colossus. I like this playstyle a lot. This is very similar to what Showtime did at BlizzCon, correct?
Yeah, actually Blink into Colossus with lots of upgrades, then you just get 3 to 4 Colossus, then you go into Disruptors, and eventually add High Templars with Storm if you think you can manage 7 controls of units.
I know better, Todd. I like to keep it simple, that's why I get Zealots. They run forward and you don't have to worry about them.
You truly have to with High Templars and Disruptors, can you?
It doesn't work that well.
It's actually insane, like every time I think of it, I feel like guys like Showtime are like super geniuses for being able to pull this off and micro so well, so many units at once.
It's funny if you compare it to other StarCraft or other RTS games, you know, like Warcraft 3 also had a lot of spellcasters, but obviously Warcraft 3 battles were like 3 times as slow as a StarCraft battle. So even though you did use tab and you used multiple spellcasters and multiple heroes, it's like you had your time, you know, like the only common you use is like a Chain Wave or a Core Nova.
Yeah, the spells themselves have like long cooldown and they're quite slow, whereas in StarCraft, a disruptor shot, like if you miss a single one, it's not like you're gonna have another one that's like gonna be super important anytime soon. Like you literally have 1 shot per disruptor before the fight is decided.
Yep.
And as for the storms, it's kind of the same thing. If you get everything EMP'd, like a lot of the time they're gonna be on the same group and kind of clumped up. Let's see if Zest can react. Yeah, he could have actually done a lot of damage on that.
Now he's gonna end up losing quite a few workers. Kind of a slow reaction there. Ends up losing 3 workers in total, no mining time. It's kind of unfortunate. Stalkers are out of position. TY wants to make a strong push here. First Colossus on the way. Oh my god, he's gonna...
Man.
Is he really
3
gonna...
tanks, that is 3 tanks.
Yeah, but there's a...
Remember, these guys do so much damage nowadays.
Yeah.
With turrets that are gonna be made there.
It's a lot of gateways though, Todd. And with the Immortal, I'd say just get a couple of Adepts.
You could empower that actually. Look at the pylon.
Yeah, that's an important pylon.
He pulls back actually. A little bit worried that Zest might be engaging into him. Oh, there's Stalkers behind, okay.
I think Zest should really try to clean up this army though, because his third Nexus is very late. I mean, compare this to the other games where he went up to 3 bases at 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
This is so cool, by the way. TY, he was worried about the reinforcements being picked off, so he actually picked up inside a medivac with Marines, and he's dropping on top of his tanks there.
Oh,
and actually pulling back was smart there.
He's gonna move the Observer though. He's gonna end up losing the Observer. If he gets a cancel here, that would be big.
He won't get it.
That's an army he can fight though with his Stalkers. I don't know. Oh, good job there, avoiding his Widowmine shot as well. He did a lot of damage already. I'd love to see him try to get the cancel though. If there's no Marauders, these Stalkers will reign supreme.
There's a couple more units there to reinforce. One more Colossus in production. Going to be very important for Zest to get at least 2 or 3 before he can properly fight against this Terran. He could actually snipe it, I think, if he had gone for it.
Yep, but he wasted quite a bit of time. Now it's going to be harder, but he's still doing a really good job. The CC is almost completed. At that point, obviously, TY will be able to repair it. Seems like Zest is kind of giving up. He's just delaying a little bit. Steam forward, TY had enough. He's like, all right, get off my lawn right now.
I try to be nice about this, but it's time for you to leave. And TY, his third base is going to go up. Orbital command on the way. We see Zest going to charge and 2-2, but he's stuck on 2 bases here. This is going to be a big problem for him to move out, because like sure, eventually maybe he can break out that position right outside his third base, but is it going to be cost effective? Because if he loses too much, then he's against a Terran who's going to be on 3 bases for the longest of time and who's going to have far superior reinforcements and army.
TY is a tiny bit confused about this game. He's like, why is he just letting me contain him? This is so weird. So he's checking for hidden bases right now. Undergrounds is obviously a massive map, and every now and then you may just find what you're looking for. This time there is no hidden base. War Prism indeed on the top side of the map. Let's not forget, charge more than halfway done. A couple of Zealots. They will have +1 already.
And actually, if he waits for 2-2 and charge, drops Zealots and does a big warp in, it's going to be so hard for TOI to hold on, because he has to send the exact right amount of reinforcements towards the main, and usually that's when you poke towards the third base as the Protoss. But the thing about that is that if Zest does that, then he's very exposed to counter drop, which every single Terran is doing pretty much all the time, but not TY in this game. TY might just be happy to camp with his massive army, wait until he has enough Vikings, because he knows that Zest is not going to be cutting Colossi production, and then eventually attack into this.
These positions are a tiny bit tricky for TY to drop, because he has to take a massive detour, otherwise his drops will be too obvious and they will always get intercepted, and there is a lot of Stalkers on the map as well. Zest waiting. We could also see some High Templar drops later on, perhaps. So this is a map where storm drops can be very effective from multiple angles. Scouting Factory doesn't need it this time. No need for Widow Mines. Even though mines are pretty decent against Zealots. The Viking count is obviously more important against all these Colossus.
Careful, Zest. You don't want to play too much with fire there. Blinks back for now. There's starting to be a good amount of Vikings there. Those are 2-2 Zealots with charge, so they're going to do quite a bit of damage very quickly. And like I said, Zest is going to push her forward onto that third base. The War Prism is probably going to die, which is obviously really bad. Like Zest would have liked to go for one big round of Zealots.
Yeah. Also, he can't reinforce his push right now, and this is a pretty big map. One Zealot is left behind. That one Zealot should be able to do quite a bit of damage. That's the no-knee Zealot of
the one-man army
of TSL 2, Todd. Or 3.
There he is.
Against Strelok. Sports history.
And actually, High Templars being added on now for Archons by Zest, who's looking to try and equalize the army supply to make sure he can properly take a fight. Was there a Ghost Academy made this game? I feel like that's what's lacking compared to the previous games.
He's getting a Fusion Core instead. So he might get some Liberator range. Oh, Manifact's tiny bit exposed.
He didn't make a Ghost Academy yet, so he's just going to be playing Liberator and Viking heavy.
He has a Templar Archive start. There's only one thing I want to see. That's a couple of High Templars, and I want to see the sweet feedback dream. Whenever Medevacs show up, like Storms are always great, but I think if you can get insta-kills on Medevac, that's really worth it. We see a couple of High Templars being added. I really hope he doesn't morph everything into Archons. Save up some feedbacks in Zest. He's got so much energy on those Medevacs. There's all insta-kills. You one-shot them, except for the south one, I guess.
You see, it's interesting, by the way. Zest just made 4 pylons at his third base. So if he was to be on the map and gets countered attack there, he has actually quadruple overcharge to help him defend against this. Even if it goes into some sort of base trade, he's grabbing a Dark Shrine here right now. Maybe he's already thinking ahead. How about all these situations? That's a lot of charge loads, by the way. Against no ghosts.
Yeah. It's important that they don't run too far ahead. There is the Ghost Academy you wish for.
And advanced ballistics is on the way as well, going to be very important. TY quite heavy on Liberators and Vikings.
I kind of like to see Zest. I would have liked to see him done something with his upgrade advantage. He had +3 against only +1 armor. I really think that would have been massive. If he waits until Liberator range is done, by the way, he really needs to Stargate. Otherwise, these Liberators are going to be very frustrating. There's always a spot somewhere your Stalkers won't be able to reach. Disruptor being added now as well, Todd. He's going to go for everything. He doesn't have Storm, though, does he? I think he just has Archons.
Yeah, just made a couple of Archons because I think he was worried about getting attacked into. I don't know, Kev.
Yeah, seen better trades, but it's okay. He doesn't reduce the size of the Liberator count by 1. He might get a cancel at his 5th base very quickly. TY is also getting a 6 though. Being this deep, Todd, without a War Prism, if he has a Prism here, he could reinforce so big. He goes for another forward blink, gets a couple of Vikings. Does Zest have enough here to break TY?
And can he reinforce? I haven't seen any War Prism around. TY pulls back behind some of his buildings that are going to tank some of the damage. And the Bio is going to try to clean the rest of this army up. Colossus was attacking Agasia for the longest time, and it looks like TY might be able to push this back. Disruptor shot doesn't hit enough. And if Zest loses this chunk of army, replacing the Colossi is going to be extremely hard.
If he had a War Prism here, Todd, we said it both in the beginning of this fight. I really think this could have been a little different. Those Zealots just a little too late to the party. This Liberator is being annoying and killed, wow, 37 SCVs.
Yeah, that's a lot, but the army left over of TY 62 against the 13 of Zest, who's in a world of trouble right now. How is he supposed to hold against this counter-attack? I mentioned the pylons on the 3rd base, and he's going to have a couple overcharges, but that 4th base really going to be the one that's exposed. He taps out, and TY moves on to the quarterfinals, where he will face Gumiho. Zest goes out.
Wow. Actually a tiny bit surprised to see Zest step out there, Todd. He had a lot of money in the bank. Obviously he has no Stargate against Liberator range, which is very frustrating. But he did, that wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Either way, congratulations to TY for advancing to the quarterfinals. One of the big 4, Todd. The 4 mighty Terrans that we always talk about.
And there could be a lot more where that came from here, revealing themselves in these tournaments, because Terran's been doing pretty well.
We had a big 4, perhaps after this tournament we have a big 7. We're going to hear from TY soon. First we're going to have to a very small break, and after that we'll be back with Smix and TY.